presents The Takeout Effect with Banki. The Takeout Effect brings real conversations in business.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Takeout Effect, brought to you by Business Takeout. The Takeout Effect brings real conversations in business. I'm your host, and my name is Banki. The Takeout Effect is brought to you by Business Takeout. Business Takeout is a nonprofit social enterprise that provides business resources to Black entrepreneurs. Our mission is to increase Black wealth and empower Black entrepreneurs. Today's guest is the founder of the Afro-Caribbean Business Network, Detailing Knight, and he is also a social enterprise coach. We're going to have a great conversation today. Welcome, Ryan Oneil Knight.
Thank you so much for having me on, Banki. And just before we get started, I would love to just let you know I am so proud of what you do. It takes a lot to be this consistent, and I'm inspired by what you've been able to put together with the business, well, the Takeout Effect. Wasn't there another one, the Business Takeout?
There's many. There's like about.
Okay, there's different ones.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, I love it, and thank you for inviting me on.
Thank you, and it's a great pleasure to have you. We're gonna go into, for everyone who's watching, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. We're gonna dive into business tips, social enterprise. What is it? We're gonna learn more about Ryan. We're gonna want to know about his journey, his toughest challenges, and how COVID has affected his businesses. But before we dive into that, let's hear a message from our sponsor. Our sponsor today is Banki Designs. Banki Designs is a branding and design agency that specializes in graphic design, web design, and social media content creating. Let's have a word from our sponsor. Hi, Ryan.
Love that. That was intense. Listen, you need to send me the information to become a sponsor for the show, because Detailing Nights, we are in prime season. So would love to get your support to put together an ad like that and
Definitely.
support your show. Please send me that info after. Makisha, I know you hear me. Don't let Banki forget.
Definitely. So, Ryan, how did your journey start as an entrepreneur?
I think it started because I used to do a lot of odd jobs, and after high school, it was I feel like I was drifting. So between courier jobs, like radio host, like Jazz FM, learning the broadcasting, and then doing like pizza delivery. So all those kind of odd types of jobs, they classify you as a contractor. So that was kind of my toe in the water. But at the same time, you're looking for a stable job and trying to get married. So running or finding a stable job was the goal. And I thought I found one. And then in 2009, I was working for an organization. They used to sell equipment to support learning disabilities. So like things so you could see and like work through your computer. And I was the purchasing agent. So I'm thinking, hey, I'm growing with this company and they're like sending me on business trips. Everything's great. Boom. 2 weeks before my wedding, 2009, laid off. And so that's where I realized what my dad was saying in my ear about, hey, if you want to control your own destiny, you have to start your business. If you want to become rich, you should become an entrepreneur. And so I felt like that punch in the gut was the time to step back, analyze what I'm doing with my life, and decided to go the entrepreneurship route, like full steam.
Okay. And which came first, Detailing Nights or the Afro-Caribbean Business Network?
So Detailing Nights and Hcbn, the Afro-Caribbean Business Network, came out of the need that I was seeing while running my company. So I started Detailing Nights right around 2009. but at the same time was going to Sheridan. So after I graduated Sheridan officially, DK became the full-time thing. And it got to a point where we wanted to expand and franchise the company and expand across Canada and into the US. So I went to other Black-focused business organizations and said, hey, this is where I'm at with my company. I even went to the Jamaica consulate because my parents are Jamaican. So I was like, hey, maybe they could help me here. Don't go there. That is not what they do. And they'll tell you point blank, this is not what we do here. So that's where we sat down with about 6 other entrepreneurs in the Peel region to say, could we create an entity that would be able to sit down with entrepreneurs in that kind of position to help them create a blueprint to scale up their companies? And so that was about 2017. So we're going on 4 years old. And yeah, it's expanded ever since that initial breakfast. And one of our co-founders, Ray McMillan, will tell you it was supposed to be a breakfast, but there was no breakfast. So we were just there because the restaurant doesn't serve breakfast, and that I did not know. So, but the meeting happened. So we were able to get Hcbn off the ground. Yeah, in their humble beginnings.
And how did Hcbn? Okay, you just mentioned that. So what are the benefits of being a member of the Hcbn Afro-Caribbean Business Network for our international audience? What are the benefits of what is Hcbn? Let's start there. And what are the benefits of joining and being a member?
Right. So Hcbn stands for the Afro-Caribbean Business Network. The full name is Afro-Caribbean Business Network Foundation of Canada. But we were put in place to be a resource for entrepreneurs of African and Caribbean heritage. They're able to come to us. We sit down with them and figure out what stage they're in. So they could be just an idea, they could be trying to get traction, or they could be in growth, or they could be looking to exit and sell their business. So based on what stage the entrepreneur is in, we help to create a blueprint to execute the business owner's goals. So initially, we started with just like info sessions and networking events, but we realized that a lot of entrepreneurs were not at a certain baseline to be able to open them up to a lot of opportunities. So we shifted to more capacity building, and we started our own microloan program. We started a marketing agency and a business app that does an audit of entrepreneurs' online presence to say, hey, your impressions, your engagement, your leads are low. What kind of strategy can we put in place to improve it and increase it so that you have more sales? All that to say, the benefit of being a member of Hcbn is that initial one-to-one. Us being able to sit down, hear your story, understand where you're at, and then prescribe the right support that you need for your business. And the great thing is a lot of those supports are internal. If you need access to funding, we're able to get you a microloan, or if you come to our grant writing sessions, we'll show you where the money is and help you write those grants. So again, Makisha, I'm gonna remind you to be at these meetings because Banki's busy. One of the team members has got to be there to find out how to position ourselves in front of the flow of money. So much money flowed out last year, hundreds of billions of dollars. So you should ask yourself, how much of that money did we get? And did we get enough? Based on how we were running our businesses, if the answer is no, I could have used more money, that means you're in the wrong position. So we try our best to get more entrepreneurs in front of that flow of money so that capital is not the reason that they're not executing an optimal business.
Yes. And now is the time more than ever because of pretty much of the worldwide pandemic, everything after George Floyd, the announcement that Trudeau had made about 2.1, I remember, million or something.
But 221 million?
Yes.
That one? Yeah. Still in process.
Still in process.
Yes.
So in terms of grant writing, a lot of people, they don't know how to go about it. They try to do it themselves. What are some tips for anyone who is trying to be a grant writer?
The biggest thing that we tell people that come to our sessions is, one, find a grant that you match with. But even before that, just understand in your own head what project you want to do. Because when you understand the project, you can then map it out and go find money that matches it. And so when you're researching, and that's usually where people get stuck, I'll get calls saying like, I know I need money, but I don't know where to look for it. So, and I'll even send you the spreadsheet that we created so that you can see all these different grants that are available, and even loans as well, and investment like angel investment or VC investment. But when you see something that you match with, you shouldn't always go after it by yourself. If you know what your mission is, if you know what you can execute, you should find a partner. And especially if you're a for-profit company, find a nonprofit partner, because a lot of times they'll take the lead in writing the grant, but you're the person with the expertise to execute what is needed. So you take all that heavy lifting off your shoulders and now just ride the wave of a more established nonprofit that has internal grant writers most of the time, and you get paid to execute what you love to do and support the community. So that big takeaway is partnering with a nonprofit if you're not one, or finding like-minded partners and using other people's resources to find the money. So sitting down and going to Google and just researching what grants are, there's a few scam type grant things that you'll find, and you won't know that it's not legit until you get to the end and they start asking you for money in order to send you money. And it's like the red flag should go off if they're asking you to go to Best Buy and get a gift card in order to help you get a grant. So buyer beware.
I got that actually in WhatsApp. Someone had sent it to me.
You see?
I was like, what is this?
It's wild, yeah. But then when you're in a needy state, you will fall for those things, because you'll look at your bank account and be like, listen, if I don't have X on Friday, Makisha's not going to get paid, and then it's going to be a problem. So you'll look for, okay, where can we get money? And that's where a lot of people get caught up. But if we plan ahead of time and we know, okay, for the next 12 months, we need this amount of money. Some of it will come from grants, some of it will come from revenue, and some of it could even come from a fundraiser, whatever type of revenue generator that we could do. But then the grants aren't the main focus. And that's a big piece that I try to coach our clients. Don't make grants the reason that your doors are kept open, because grants are fickle. One, they're difficult to get. It usually takes 3 to 6 months. And two, you could wait all that time and not even get it. And then three, if you do get it and next year you don't get it, you've become dependent on this money, and now it's not there anymore because the funders have changed their focus from youth to seniors, and you close your doors. I've seen so many solid, powerful nonprofits doing great work in the community, and you get an email because you're on their newsletter saying like, oh, because funding is not there, we are no longer going to be able to continue operations. And you're like, what happened? But when you look at their books and you check their financials, you'll see 80% of their funding came from grants or from a specific funder, and that funder changed their mind. And now they're toast because all of their expenses, they can't produce enough money fast enough to pay for it, so they just closed. And now look at that ripple effect. All of those people that depended on that nonprofit through no fault of their own do not have that resource anymore. And that's where, as a nonprofit leader, we have to think of what is the way to make sure that our organizations are sustainable, not dependent on the government, not dependent on donors. And that's where I talk a lot about social enterprise. We have to generate revenue. It should not be a bad word in the nonprofit world to generate revenue, but it's a touchy subject I've seen.
It is a touchy subject.
Yeah. Right?
Now, social enterprise. What is that? I know I say at the beginning of my intro, Business Takeout is a nonprofit social enterprise. Right. You are a social enterprise coach. Let the audience know what a social enterprise is. Absolutely.
So social enterprise, on the spectrum of where you could register your business as or operate as. So on one side, there's the for-profits, full capitalist, shareholder value, maximize shareholder value. On the other side of the spectrum is a nonprofit, fully funded through donations and grants and fundraising. So a nonprofit typically does not have revenue generating activities. So if it creates one, they are creating a social enterprise. So that business is actually generating profit that supports the nonprofit. On the for-profit side, typically they don't have community and positive community impact. So when they start having activities in the community that support like the well-being of the residents, then their business shifts more to a social enterprise. So you'll notice there's a lot of Black entrepreneurs that are running these businesses that are also doing so much work in the community, they don't even realize they're running a social enterprise. So now a lot of this money is being announced that the government wants to give the social enterprise, and these entrepreneurs aren't even putting up their hand because they don't think that they're talking to them. So that's where we started doing a lot of these workshops to say, you qualify for this money, do not miss it. Whatever it takes, we will help you get those applications in. Because a nonprofit, it's easier for them to realize they're a social enterprise as soon as they start generating revenue. But it's hard for a for-profit to realize they qualify for grants because typically up till now, they've been shut out. People have told them, oh, if you're a for-profit, don't even look at grants. And typically you can only get maybe 2,000, 5,000. So it's not really game changing. But we saw with the investment readiness program, you were able to get up to $100,000 as a for-profit social enterprise to fine-tune your business and to get you ready for more investment from the government. And same thing with nonprofit social enterprise. So we saw a lot of successful applicants, and I really take that to heart because it's not just about us, like our organization being able to get money. When you're able to help others get money, it really changes the dynamic.
Amazing. And it's really good information to know. A lot of people are kept in the dark. They really don't know all the resources and information that are out there. And I appreciate the newsletters that you send. I get them in my email, so I really appreciate that also.
Yes, my pleasure.
So for someone who is starting a social enterprise, what any business tips, advice that you'd give to that person?
I come from the for-profit end of the spectrum. So the tip I always give is don't, and it's going to sound harsh, don't let the community work bankrupt the company. Because a lot of times you're running the business and you're doing the community work out of your own bank account, and that is taken away from the profits that could help to build up the business, and it's actually bringing the business into reverse. So sooner or later, the owner is either stressed out and burnt out, or the company doesn't have enough money to operate. And you look around and you're like, where did all the money go? And you didn't count the costs of all the community work that you're doing. Because if you put that into your spreadsheet, your cash flow projections, and like, okay, this amount of time that we're spending to do community work has a value to it. We have to account for that. And at the end of the year, if that's going to be a net loss, we have to find that money to offset the social work that we're doing until the business gets to a point that it's making enough money. You can do the social work without it crippling the growth of the business. So really taking a hard look at your numbers to say, we need to break down exactly how much money is coming in and exactly the work that you want to do in the community and how much it's going to cost. Because if you don't count that, I guarantee you your business is going to be going backwards and you won't know what hit you.
Okay, good to know. So a lot of people might have a nonprofit. Some might have a charity. What would you say would be a difference between a nonprofit and a charity?
I find charities are more rigid. So in their articles of incorporation, it states exactly what they need to do to become a charity. And then once they do become a charity, they have to stick with it. So it's usually more difficult to add in like a social enterprise element because, and again, when I do presentations for boards of charities, that question is the pushback, like, oh, but if we start this business, we might lose our charity status. And it's like, hey, if the business that you start is so far away from what you're doing as a charity, yes, I understand you don't want to jeopardize what you're doing, but you can run a business that's in line with your mission so that you can still be making money and keep your charitable status, and it's not a conflict. There are many charities that have social enterprises, and that's typically why if a person is just registering like from scratch, going the charity route, you have to be prepared for governance. If you go the nonprofit route, it's a bit easier to like have the social enterprise concepts and add on different ideas. You're a bit more flexible, but again, not as flexible as if you're a for-profit. So nonprofit and charities, be ready for governance. For-profit, you have a lot more flexibility.
So for our audience in Canada, if they donate to a charity, they get a tax receipt.
Right.
But if they do it for a nonprofit, they don't. Is that correct?
Right, because a nonprofit wouldn't be able to generate a donation receipt, a taxable donation receipt. But a charity could. But again, if a person's buying from your business, you're able to write off those costs, like the marketing costs or any expenses for your social enterprise. But if you're a nonprofit, you don't pay taxes anyway. So running the social enterprise doesn't really affect the charity, like giving out charitable tax receipts. But if you want to just accept money as a nonprofit, it's hard to ask for donations because a lot of foundations want that tax receipt. So if you don't have a charity status, it locks you out of those types of funding.
Good point. So as an entrepreneur, a social enterprise coach, detailing nights, the Afro-Caribbean Business Network, what would you say your toughest challenges have been before COVID?
Oh boy. So I'll do one at a time because detailing nights.
It can just be for either one. It doesn't have to be all of them.
I'd say detailing nights, the toughest challenge was, finding staff that could stay for the long haul. But even though we run a youth entrepreneurship program, we understood that, hey, a person's going to come work with us for the summer and then in the winter go off back to school, or in the fall, go back to school. So that turnover was fine. But then we also had like B2B contracts. So working with corporations that were cleaning their fleets. So we needed people full time. And the cleaning business typically has high turnover. So you'd find somebody, they'd be excellent, they'd stay for a while. And some of them realize, hey, I can go do this on my own and then go off to do their own thing. And for me, it's like a double-edged sword because that to me is a success. If a person that needed your help got a job and then felt comfortable enough to go start their own business, I see that as a success. But then we have to go and find another person that has that talent, has that capability. So training them up to that point. But detailing nights is more around finding staff, of course, making sure that we have enough capital to execute the visions of the company. But then with Hcbn, it was really about finding our identity. We started it in 2017, didn't really have a specific strategy. It was more, hey, we see this gap and we're going to figure out how to fill that gap. And getting to, especially before COVID, it was still trial and error, trying to figure out what makes Hcbn different and why should the exact question that you asked, what benefit is it for a person to become a member of our organization? So we're always trying to answer that question.
Amazing. So I've been to one of your events. It was a Legacy Symposium. I brought my son there. I had an amazing time.
Nice.
In terms of COVID, how has COVID affected specifically the events that you had normally have? How has COVID just changed all of that, and how were you able to leverage it?
Yeah, it definitely shifted everything virtual. And it was interesting because if it didn't shift virtual, we wouldn't have found some of the platforms that we've been able to use during the year, not just to do webinars and info sessions, but the full symposium itself. And I feel like it's easier to network virtually. And it might sound weird because in person, you can kind of bump into people. You can say, hey, what do you do? You're sitting around the table waiting for dinner. You can kind of network that way. Hey, in the bathroom, you bump into somebody and you hear them over talking on the phone about something you're interested in. It's like, hey, I wasn't listening, but I kind of overheard you say that you're in, you do design. I do design. So those chance meetings didn't happen. But virtually, you can be very purposeful with your networking. I'm part of a conference that's going on, the Power Networking Conference that's happening in the US. And you'll see the attendee list. you'll see the speaker list. You can take everybody's name, put them into LinkedIn, introduce yourself before the conference even starts and say, hey, I saw you're going to be at this event. Love to connect with you. And then you can read their bios, find out, hey, this person does X. You can go online and like check out their Facebook page, check out their website, realize they align with what you do. You can be sending messages to people before the conference even starts. And then during the conference, it's more like, hey, I sent you an email, would love to get your feedback. And you're touching, like you can pinpoint who you want to talk to. And some of them, you can even ask them to have those specific meetings. We can say, hey, I'd love to schedule a meeting with you. And you can have like 15 to 20 minutes to talk directly to them. When you're in an in-person environment, you don't know who you're supposed to meet, or it's very difficult to know. And a lot of people tell you stories. It was divinity. For some reason, I was sitting beside the person that changed my life. That isn't something to rely on. You shouldn't rely on just chance encounters. So online, you can make those encounters happen purposefully. And I always say LinkedIn is one of the most underutilized tools. That is the beast of getting in contact with people that you want to meet. So use that to your advantage. And that's what we found with our like shifting to online, utilizing different ways to expand your network. And in person, you couldn't really do that. So that to me was a big bonus of, COVID forcing us virtual.
Yes. One thing I can say about in-person networking versus online is that I tend to be more shy in person. So I lose out on opportunities to network with people I would want to network with.
You want to say hi?
I ran out of rice.
Rice? Okay. There's some on the freezer. Can you close the door, please? Thank you. Oh, yes. Sorry about that.
No worries. So being that in person, I am more shy, and I tend to lose out on opportunities to network because of that. But when it's online, it's more easier for me. I'm not sure why that is, but I think a lot of people are like that, where you see it a lot where people are more brave, in front of a computer than in person, right?
Absolutely. When they say like you get a keyboard confidence, like you're able to type a message to somebody easier than taking that same message and walking up, even though it'd be like your dream person to meet, walking up to them and saying that exact same thing that you typed out is a lot more difficult. And I haven't even gotten good at that. So being able to warm up that introduction beforehand, and then when they ask to meet, it's so much easier to meet with them. But that cold introduction, you feel like you're in high school dating again, and you're at the club and you're like, okay, I gotta go talk to that girl, and your heart's pounding. Virtual takes that edge off. But then, again, you do lose strengthening that muscle because we're not going to be virtual permanently, I hope. I don't want to call that on ourselves. But yeah, strengthening the muscle of being able to go up to the person that you want to talk to is really important. And that's what I fear with my kids and the generation coming up. They only have keyboard confidence, and they don't have that. You're in an elevator with somebody and you realize it's the CEO of Walmart, and to say, you know what, I want to pitch you something and just talk right now. Instead, we'd be quiet and then go to our computer and send them a message. It's like you had them in the elevator, man. You could have just so many chance meetings like that you're able to close. But I'm seeing that confidence in real life kind of fading away, and it's troubling to see.
Yeah, definitely. So we're gonna start the game soon, but before we do, I have one question. In terms of, I was looking at detailing nights, I believe, and I see that there's a lot of different workshops about entrepreneurship. I think that's on there. How important when it comes to mentoring, how important is that to you, and why do you think it's important that our community needs strong mentorship?
Yeah, I didn't realize how powerful mentoring is until I started detailing nights. And you make your first few hires and you're working with somebody and you're not realizing that you're mentoring them because they're seeing you in an environment where you're working. So you're just thinking, oh, they're an employee. But a lot of the staff that I might hire don't have a father at home. And so that moment that we're driving together, going downtown, working together, coming back, is like 3, 4, maybe even 8 hours you're together. And it reminded me of like Big Brothers, Big Sisters, where for an hour a week, you become a father figure for this person. And for us, it was like 8 hours a day, you're becoming a figure for this person in their life. And mentoring isn't this magical, mystical thing. It is just being present. And so when I realized how important that was, that's when I started understanding what we were doing with Detailing Nights is more than just providing jobs. It's even more than just teaching a person how to start their own business and become a business owner. It's being present in these young men's lives and young women as well. It's interesting that we have a lot of women that sign on, but just being present and showing them options opens up their possibilities and shows them their true potential. That's what really lights me up. So that's why we always love to do workshops, just to attract more people in to hear what we have to say. And if it sticks, it sticks. And hey, we get another person under our wing that we could hopefully get to that next milestone. But yeah, it's so powerful. And it's something that any man, any woman can do without feeling locked into the term mentoring. It's more than just that official term, you know?
I find that, as you step into the role of leadership, that you're inspiring others, and it's always good to be present to help someone else. And you never know which way you're doing that. And you would never know. For me, I would say the Facebook group, when I had started off Business Takeout, it started as a Facebook group. And a lot of people will be in my inbox. A lot of it had nothing really to do with business, but wanting to be able to be business minded, as well as going through a lot of personal things in their lives. And, it's being present and trying to provide them as much resources as necessary to help them, because you're doing more than just, your role has really, I don't know how to describe it, but your role is really impactful, and you kind of have to step in the light of that.
Excellent. And I was curious to ask you, I know having a mentor is really important. Do you feel that you're operating at like your optimal business state?
Right now, my optimal?
Yes.
No.
Okay. And so who would be a dream mentor for you to say, hey, I need to get to another level in my business? What does that look like for Banki?
I'm being interviewed.
I was curious. Oh.
So in terms of Business Takeout, I wanted to have a more of a media appeal to it, right? More of a business media. I kind of wanted to go to that direction at the very beginning. When you look at like Business Insider, for example, but have it to be catered to Black-owned businesses.
Right. I love that.
Yes. So that's kind of the direction I wanted to go with it. But as you go on, as you step in your path, the direction changes, right?
True, but it sounds like you know the path that you want to be on. So what would you say is holding you back from executing that vision?
Me, okay, what's holding me back? Okay. I should go to you to write my grant. That's what's holding me back.
100%. Yes. We are here and waiting. Yes.
But really and truly, Business Takeout does need a lot of volunteers to really make things happen the way that we want it to.
Right.
So there's not enough volunteers, and more experienced people on the team as well in different areas, right?
Yeah.
So there's on the team, there's people that are strong in different points, but there's a lot of areas that we need help in. And
the more you add to that team, it just amplifies, like exponential growth.
Exactly.
So like you said, we are here wherever you're ready.
In terms of Banki Designs, I want Banki Designs to be an international, an international branding and design firm.
Love
so
that.
I want to have offices in different locations. throughout the world.
Okay, so what's the dream first location that you'd want to open up?
Well, Toronto, of course.
Toronto. Okay, Canada's cool. I'm talking where else around the world would be a dream location?
Toronto is one. Miami would be another.
Nice.
I would say somewhere in the Caribbean as well, and the UK.
Okay, what draws you to the UK?
I have family over there, you know.
I did not know that.
My dad grew up there.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
No, so good.
And today's his birthday, so.
What? Shout outs. Where's my wave? Yes. Happy birthday, sir.
Yeah. Did I answer all the questions? Did I miss anything?
Oh yeah, so I didn't want to take over the show. I was just very curious. I was like, yes, let me ask while I have you. But thank you for obliging. I appreciate that.
No problem. But you know what? It gave me a time to think on the spot. And a lot of times I do that a lot with my customers when I'm having these consultation calls and I'm asking them questions and they're like, well, I never thought of that.
Right.
You know?
Yes. Absolutely.
So we're about to play a game, right? The game is called Business Confessions. Right? It's pretty new here. I'm going to ask you a question. You give me a response, and I will guess, and the audience can join us in letting to really say whether or not you're telling a lie or whether or not it's a confession.
All right.
All right. The game starts now. Yep. So Ryan, tell me about a time when you made a mistake that affected a colleague, and how did you handle it, and what was the outcome?
Oh dear. Okay. A mistake. I remember we were running the youth entrepreneurship program, and one of the students called and told me that he was going to be late. Or actually told me he wasn't going to show up. And I said, you know what? It's not good for you not to show up. At least be here. And it turned out that he wasn't going to show up. So when he got there, he's telling me, oh, you know, my cousin got killed. And because he was an ex-gang member trying to get himself like a more on a better path. And so I believe I made the mistake of telling him, you know, this program is really important. Don't follow down that path, even though it sounded right to say. I am not a social worker. So I always wish I had something better to tell him. And then I remember him graduating the program and not coming back. Like I lost a bit of contact with him. So I don't know if what I said stopped him from getting retaliation, or actually maybe he did go and get retaliation and went off the wrong track. So I feel like that's the mistake I made, having more wraparound supports for those types of incidents. And then I feel following up with our students to make sure that, hey, they don't go kill somebody in retaliation.
It's interesting that you said that. When I, before COVID had started, I wanted to really do courses, in-person courses for at-risk Black youth.
Yes.
And one of the things is, you know, whether or not I need a social worker on the team, you know, just to guide them in the right direction, to offer something above and beyond what I can, based on my area of expertise.
Yes.
Right. So with that, I'm guessing it's a confession.
It is a confession. Yes. The conversation did happen.
All right.
But yeah.
So
I wish I knew what happened after. I would love to reach out to him and see how he's doing.
Yes, definitely. What does the future look like for you?
When you talked about international, global domination, that is what I always feel like I'm working towards, especially with Detail Ignites in every country where people drive cars, or even where youth want to learn entrepreneurship. I want to be able to plant our flag. And with Hcbn as well, being able to open those trade lines between the Caribbean to Canada, between Africa to Canada, and even other places around the world, being that connector that says, hey, we can introduce you to people that are interested and they know the path to do business with countries in Africa, for example. So I'm looking forward to building out those international relations.
Okay, amazing.
So when you're opening up in Miami and the UK, bring Hcbn along so we can
All
learn
right.
too.
Definitely. We're going to end the show, but you can stay backstage.
Cool.
For everyone that's watching, thank you so much for joining us today. Ryan, how can people reach you?
The best way is adding me to WhatsApp. So 647-225-3309. Again, I'm very bad at answering phone calls right away. You might get lucky and get me. But if you send me a message on WhatsApp, typically I'll get back to you really quickly, at minimum within the day. And also you can go to our website, acbncanada.com, or you can just email me, ryan.knight@acbncanada.com, and ask me any questions that are on your mind.
Okay, perfect. It's been a pleasure having you as a guest today. I enjoyed being interviewed as well.
Thank you. Hey, it's been my pleasure being able to. I've been watching some of your episodes from time, so to be with you on stage, it's really a pleasure, and I'm grateful for the opportunity. Thank you.
You're welcome, and same here, likewise. For everyone who's watching right now, please feel free to like and share and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and see you next week, Thursday.
All right.
If you enjoy our programming and want to help support Black entrepreneurship, please donate today. www.businesstakeout.com/donate.